Hello everybody. Uh, Good morning or evening. Yes, my name is Martin Wijaya. I'm from Parahyangan Catholic University and also a geotechnical engineer at Geotechnical Engineering Consultant. So in today's lecture, I would like to present to you the effect of cut and fill for pile group 3D settlement analysis using Midas GTS NX. Okay, so what would I present today is, of course, first I would like to introduce myself, the company that I work with, and also some typical projects that we have done using Midas GTS NX. And afterward, I will continue to explain how do we usually conduct pile group settlement analysis, the conventional method, and their limitations. Okay, then afterward, I will proceed to introduce the project overview of what I'm going to present today. Then I would like to explain more on the finite element model. How do I model different how do I model the non-horizontal soil surface? How do I construct non-horizontal soil layer, and some tips and tricks about Midas GTS NX that some of you might never heard. Yeah. Then afterward, I will go and show you the results and analysis. Then I will proceed to conclusion. Okay. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Martin Wijaya. Again, my bachelor degree is from Parahyangan Catholic University. Okay. I did my bachelor degree in 2007 until 2011. And at the time, my final year project is about the analysis of settlement and compression of stiff clay under high-rise building in Jakarta, which interestingly is actually talking about equivalent Raft method and Poulos method for settlement prediction. Well, at the time, 3D software is very rare. Yeah? We are still working on 2D most of the time, although I think Midas already has some 3D software products, but at the time it's very rare, so I still use Poulos method or equivalent Raft for most of the settlement problem. Yeah. Then I continue to work in GEC, okay, as a junior geotechnical engineer, not so long, only about 6 months. I do some design for foundation, analyzing excavation, and some slope stability analysis. Then afterward, I continue study at Nanyang Technological University for my PhD degree, yeah, from January 2012 until January 2016, but actually mostly talking about compression, shrinkage, and wetting in the swelling chains of unsaturated soil. So basically, my expertise is actually not on the my expertise is actually more on the unsaturated soils under the guidance of Prof. Leong Eng Chun. Then afterward, I continue to work in Kisojiban Consultant as a senior geotechnical engineer over there, yeah, for about 2 years. I did a lot of focus on supervising site investigation and interpreting soil parameters from both in situ and laboratory tests, which I think for geotechnical engineers is a very important role, yeah, because whatever that we do, the numerical analysis that we will carry, everything depends on the soil interpretation. How do we interpret the bore logs? How do we interpret the pressure method test? How do we interpret the CPTU? That's all the most important as a geotechnical engineers. Okay. Then afterward, interpreting those parameters are going to be the input for our analysis. Okay. Then after 2 years working in Kisojiban Consultant for deepening my understanding on the in situ test and laboratory test, I continue to work again in NTU, but as a postdoc research fellow, okay, for about 3 years. And at that time, I did a lot of research in unsaturated soils and mostly conducting tree risk management. So at that time, Singapore is very concerned about the damage of tree that fall down, and then they said $1 million wasted whenever there is a tree falling down. So we did a lot of analysis, yeah, some parametric studies on the wind load, how do we consider which trees remain safe and stable enough to resist the wind load. And then in fact we did some 3D model as well using Midas GTS NX to analyze the stability of trees at the time. At the time I'm still under Prof Leong Eng Chun. Then after 3 years in NTU, I start to pursue my faculty position at Parahyangan Catholic University, currently as a lecturer over there. And at the same time, I become a geotechnical engineering. Geotechnical engineers do some consultancy works at the geotechnical engineering consultant. So these are both my so-called background. I did some publications, especially with my PhD supervisor, Prof Leong Eng Chun, over the years up until now. These are some of the list of journal publication and conference papers that we have published. And I also did some book chapters on the climate and land use impacts on natural and artificial systems. How the significance of unsaturated soil properties on stability analysis against extreme rainfall. With some of my friends over here, Prof Alfredo Satyanaga, Margaret Mircea-Nistor, and Prof Hadanto Raharjo. And then this is the company profile of my current consultant company, which is PTGEC, or we usually call it Geotechnical Engineering Consultant. This is our boss, Professor Paulus Pramono Raharjo, one of the very prominent geotechnical engineers in Indonesia. We have done a number of, I think, more than thousands of geotechnical works, and it has across all over Indonesia. So as you can see here, all these points indicate projects that we have done in Indonesia, and I think it's not all. There's so many that we don't put it here. And then our service is of course cover geotechnical consultancy, geotechnical investigation, high-tech in situ testings, geotechnical supervision, geotechnical instrumentation and monitoring. So we did almost everything related to the geotechnical works. And most of all, I work in the design department. Actually, to be more specific, in the research department. So this is where I am. Then our company has started to use Midas since a very long time. I think it's about maybe 2011. So this is one of the prominent projects at the time, the Cisumdawu tunnel projects. This is the 3D models, and then currently the tunnel has been successfully constructed. Then of course we also did a number of projects in Jakarta, for high-rise building. And then whenever we have settlement problems to solve, we use Midas GTS NX. So for instance, whether it is pile raft or raft foundation, for settlement profile, we always use Midas GTS NX. This is another example, District 8. It involves a lot of excavation for the raft construction. As you can see, it's a very big project, and the building has been successfully constructed as well. Then I also did some projects in Doha Airport. We did some 3D analysis on the MSEW, which is interestingly constructed on non-uniform soil layer. So the pile has a variety of length as shown in here, and this is our pictures. So I have done with the introduction about myself, about the company. So I would like to introduce to you, or to give you some briefing, which I think most of us has already understood, about the conventional analysis for pile group settlement. So we have already understood that pile group settlement is different with the single pile settlement due to the stress bulb which occurs. So if we have a pile like this, the stress bulb will be quite small, but then when we have a pile groups, then the stress bulb will overlap, and then we will have a much larger stress bulb. and then the effect is that a much significant settlement will occur. Okay, and there are a number of methods up until now, which I can simplify into two types for me. Yeah, this is my classification. The first type is when the method only consider the maximum total settlement due to the pile groups. Yeah, so it is basically, I think, one of the most famous method is the equivalent rough method, where in the equivalent rough methods, we assume that there is a rough below the pile foundation. If the soil is homogeneous, we typically assume that the rough location is about 2/3 of the length of the pile. So if this is the length of the pile, yeah, this is the equivalent rough method. Okay, in the equivalent rough method, we simply increase the size of this foundation, yeah, so that the stress will decrease with depth. Okay, so this is the equivalent rough method. Then of course, since we know the stress on every depth, then we can just calculate. For instance, using consolidation theory, yeah, the compression analysis to calculate what is the compression of each layer and calculate what is the total settlement. Yeah, and after that, if the soil is differentiated into soft and harder layers, yeah, then the stress will start to be distributed below the bearing stratum. If this is the length of the pile below the bearing stratum, then the equivalent rough started from 2/3 of this length. Yeah, 2/3 of this length. And then if we have a pile is basically end bearing piles, yeah, where the bearing stratum is much stronger than the soft soils, okay, then we usually assume that the stress is started at the end of our piles. Okay, so this is basically the type A methods. Of course, there are some others method like some empirical method, yeah, to convert from single pile to pile group settlement. Okay, oops, sorry. And we have the type B method. And for me, the most familiar one is Poulos and Davis, because this is my FYP. Yeah, in type B analysis, we consider the settlement of a single pile due to the contribution of every other piles. Yeah, so if we have 9 piles, for instance, like this, then the settlement of single pile, the first pile, is not only due to its own load, yeah, at the top of the pile, but also due to the contribution of every single pile that is surrounding this one pile. Yeah, so it is also called as pile to pile interaction analysis. Okay, then from here, if we know what is the load on every piles, we can get the settlement at every piles. Okay, and then we can do some post processing to do, for instance, spatial analysis in order to get the contour of the settlement. Yeah, we can use Kriging method or inverse distance weight in order to analyze the settlement profile at below your construction. Yeah. Now the problems with these two methods is that first of all, we don't consider when there is any cut or fill process. Yeah, so for us it's a simple problem where we must know already what is the load acting on the piles, yeah, or load acting on the pile rough, on the pile cap. Okay, and we do some method to assume what is the load at every piles. Okay, but we cannot model cut and fill process, especially when the cut and fill process is so complicated. Yeah, and of course over here we assume that the soil surface is horizontal and the soil layer is also horizontal. Yeah, so there are a number of assumptions when we do the conventional method, and it doesn't mean that this method is not good. Yeah, this method is applicable, of course. Yeah, and it has been successfully implemented over the years. It's just that now construction is getting more complicated. There are a lot of cut and fill process involved. Yeah? And when we want to consider the effect of cut and fill, perhaps the conventional method has some limitations to cover that process. Okay, and also if you consider pile interaction analysis, is actually based on Milne equation. Yeah, and it assumes a homogeneous soil, elastic half space. So of course we rarely encounter soil that is homogeneous. Yeah, in most of our problems, soil is not homogeneous. It might have sand, might have silt somewhere here and there. Yeah, different both horizontal and vertically. So based on all these limitations, nowadays it is more easier to conduct numerical analysis in order to get the settlement profile. Okay, so let me introduce the projects to you. Yeah, the project is actually a parking lot buildings, which is nothing special. Okay, but it is located on top of the mountains. Okay, that what makes it special, because it is constructed at the top of the mountains. It has a lot of sloping area. Okay, we need to do a lot of cut and fill process in order to make sure that we have the same elevation for our basement. Yeah, and of course there are some stability problems involved, which is not going to be covered in this presentation. We are going to just focus more on the settlement analysis. Okay, the team leader of course is our boss, yeah, Prof. Paulus Pramono Raharjo, and the manager at the time is Mr. Bondan, okay, which is the manager for the R&D teams. Yeah, so I'm under R&D and he's my manager. Then at the time I work with two of my colleagues, which is Miss Delanera Princess Saurin, yeah, and Mr. Ahmad Kamal Arsyad. Yeah, so the three of us is working under Mr. Bondan and Prof. Paulus Pramono. Okay, now let me introduce what exactly we are trying to do. Yeah, so there are times where we have a buildings on top of the mountains. This is the contour. Yeah, and we just want to cut this area. Yeah, we want to cut this area, and we want to put some fill as well. Yeah, because as you can see, when the surface is no longer horizontal, but we want to make a horizontal construction, we need to do cut there, fill there, yeah, in order to ensure that we have the so-called appropriate level, yeah, appropriate working place. Yeah, so this is going to be like this. Yeah, over here all is flat. Okay, this is what we want to achieve. Yeah. Then of course we have a consideration in what should we do. Yeah, how do we estimate the settlement below this building when there are so many cut and fill process involved, and especially when it is located in the mountains, we might have some geometry effect, yeah, to the settlement. Okay, so luckily we have some point clouds data over here. As you can see, yeah, we construct this using photogrammetric method. Basically we fly drones, capture numbers of photo, and we construct this digital elevation model. Yeah, and this is the pictures of the site. As you can see, yeah, there's so many sloping area over here. Yeah, this is sloping area. Yeah, and our building will be located here. Okay, you can see there's already trace of excavation here and there. Yeah, and how do we analyze such problems? Yeah, how do we analyze settlement located on top of the mountains like this when we do a number of cut and fill? Okay, so of course the first thing that we have to do is we have to conduct soil investigation, because soil investigation is the core of geotechnical works. Yeah, if we are not sure what is below, whatever that we do, whatever the numerical analysis that we carried, most likely won't represent the reality. Yeah, and luckily we have 5 boreholes in these projects. Okay, and then 12 CPT. Yeah, this is the location of the boreholes. Okay, this is the location. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the rest are CPT. Okay, and from there we are going to construct our parking lot buildings, which is look like this. Yeah, okay. Now from, of course, having boreholes and CPT, yeah, we try to make a soil layering. Okay, this is the cut-off level at the elevation of 847 meters. Yeah, On the other hand, the surface is located range from 851 meters to 858 meters. So as you can see, we are going to cut from 4 meters, yeah, this is 4 meters, up to somewhere around 11 meters, yeah, 11 to 12 meters. This is 12 meters, okay, and it's going to be vary from place to place, yeah. Okay, so from here, yeah, we have a non-horizontal soil surface, non-horizontal soil layer. What are we gonna do? Okay, so let us move on to the finite element model. Okay, of course, in order to show you what is the effect of cut and fill, I need to make two FEM model. So let's just call the first model model A. Yeah, this is model A. This is the models. Yeah, we have non-horizontal soil layer, soil surface. Sorry, over here. The black color mesh is where I'm going to put my fill. Yeah, this is the fill area. Okay, and we have a non-horizontal soil layer, as you can see here. Yeah, and I would like to explain to you why the cut of the mesh, yeah, the soil layer is not smooth. What I did in here is not the conventional tricks where I cut the geometry according to the soil layers, because I'm going to introduce you to the new features in Midas. I think these new features came in 2021, which is called as divide mesh. Yeah, one of the features that I quite like. Okay, and I would explain to you what all the problems why I like these features. Okay, then of course I would like to introduce you to certain application which help you to make this such 3D models. Okay, the first we have TGM or Terrain Geometry Makers. Okay, one of the tools that I commonly used until now, okay, for the 3D models. This one is actually basically a tools. If you have a contour, then you can construct any surface which you can use to cut your geometry. Yeah. And second, I'm going to introduce another feature. This one is quite common, which is called bedding plan. Okay, so I'm going to introduce bedding plan for the soil layer. Then last I will introduce about the divide mesh. Yeah. Okay, so at the end from this initial condition, I'm going to excavate here. Yeah, this is all excavated and some part are filled. Okay. Okay, so now let me introduce to the TGM or Terrain Geometry Maker. So what TGM did is actually, if we have a contour data, we can proceed to create a surface. Yeah. So let me open my Midas software, yeah, to show you what we can do. Yeah. Okay. First of all, you go to wait. Yeah. Let me normalize my Midas. Go to geometry. Go to Terrain Geometry Maker. Open. Yeah. Now Terrain Geometry Maker is actually work with the DXF file. So you need DXF. Okay. You create your own DXF file. Yeah. And then let me see. Yeah. I already prepared my DXF. Click open. As usual, AutoCAD usually consists of so many numbers of layers. We don't need all of this. We only need the contour. Okay. Don't put anything else that you don't want to consider. Yeah. So just the contour, major and minor. Yeah. Then okay. Okay. Sometimes, yeah, you have a problems in the AutoCAD where maybe there's a dot or line in some area, especially maybe you forget to delete. Yeah, especially because you are working in northing easting. Yeah, you are working in northing easting and the number can be very large. Yeah, this one is 9 to the power of 6. So as you can see, of course, this is not what we want. Yeah, we need to zoom first. Try to look where is my model. Yeah. Okay, so this is the model. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes when it happens, you don't go panic. Yeah, you take a look at the number here. whether this number is normal. If not, then most likely your software or your AutoCAD maybe have some line or points that make it go haywire. Yeah? So you just need to find where is your contour. Then you click this, see, yeah, let me take this dynamic pen, yeah, then go to this hammer icon. You select the contour which you are going to interpolate. For me, I just choose all, yeah. Then you select the area that you want for soil surface. You can click plot zone to see which area is covered. You basically, every area that has no contour will have a haywire result. Yeah? So you don't want a very big haywire result. Yeah? You try to limit it within your contour. Yeah. So over here, over there will be problems. But we try to make sure that we are working only inside the area of interest. Yeah. So this is one trick if you are going to create a contour using LiDAR or drones, yeah, using our photogrammetry method. Make sure that the area covered by your drone is larger than what you need, so it is easier for you to cut in the future. Okay, this is the sampling point. If your computer is good enough, you just use 200 or maximum. Yeah, if you use less, then the contour will be the shape of the surface will be much coarser. Okay, then press OK. Let the software do spatial interpolation, and as you can see here, yeah, because some area doesn't have contour, it tells you that there is some sampling error at 3000 points. Yeah, then you just continue anyway because you have no choice. Okay, you can see here there's some weird area. Yeah, if there's no contour, then there's no hope. So, but the problem is sometimes your contour is not horizontal, so you have no other choice. You have to sacrifice some area. Then go to File, Export Surface. Okay. And then let's just call, I will save in the file with this name. Press yes. Okay, then you can close or not close, it's up to you. Yeah, then you import the TMS. Okay, once you import the TMS, you will have your soil surface. Okay, this is the result of using TGM. Yeah, so as you can see, the details of your 3D model depends on the preparation. So if you don't have good contour, good LiDAR, then there's no hope actually. Yeah, your 3D models will be very painful. Yeah, then what are we gonna do? Okay, if we have soil surface, then of course, if you want to model this as a solid, you need a box. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the XY plane. Okay, this is X, this is Y, and then you can take a look at your model boundary, minus 100 to 244. Yeah, Y-axis minus 999 to 143. Then you go to this box, make a box, then you can roughly guess where is your model. Yeah, you don't need to make it so big. You can go to, let's say, minus 200, minus 150, and okay, maybe I want to make my model 100 meter deep, so let's make it 100. Then the width, yeah, so I want to cover it as big as possible. Let's make it 400, for instance. Yeah, Y-axis is about 250. Okay, and the height is 100. Then I preview first to see where is. Okay, this is not good. Yeah, this is not good. Yeah, we don't want this one. Okay, so let's reduce. Okay, this one also still not so good. Yeah, okay, this one much better. Okay, then we don't want such a big solid box. Okay, we can reduce to here. Or okay, and then let's see. Yeah, this one we can increase again, say minus 160 or 70. Yeah, okay, maybe too much, 60. Okay, then we just press OK. Yeah, okay, so this is the problems. Yeah, because I use elevation, the solid is at the 0, but you can easily extrude this, okay, in the Z direction. Just make it 1000. Yeah, if you make it 1000, then it will definitely higher than your surface. Then press OK. Then after that, you can just divide this solid box with the surface. Oops, with the surface. Yeah, you don't delete the tools, you delete the original. Then press OK. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't take so long. Okay, this one, it depends on how complicated is your so-called surface. Yeah, if your surface is simple, it takes less time. If your surface is complicated, it may take a very long time. Then you have your model. Yeah, you can just mesh it however you want. Yeah. Okay, now let us go back to my presentation. This is the TGM. That's how you are going to use TGM. Okay. Then the next feature is bedding plan. To be honest, I rarely use bedding plan anymore because I don't like how bedding plan do the spatial interpolation. So what I did is I used another software to do spatial interpolation, make a contour, and then use TGM to proceed. Yeah, but of course this is a matter of preference. Okay, so of course, but in this project I use bedding plan, so I might as well introduce to you how do I create the bedding plan. So first of all, in Midas we have an Excel file. So let me open the Excel file. Yeah. This is a template, so you can just get it from your software. We have a borehole name, we have a location. Yeah, this is all the borehole name. This is the coordinate, and every borehole data you key in your soil layer. Every borehole must have the same soil layer. Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is, if in one borehole you don't have that data, yeah, you just key in the same depth. Yeah, so this is basically telling that this soil layer is going to be squeezed and it's basically not existent. Okay, and then let us take a look again. Yeah, so you just key in the soil layer, the depth, and the coordinate of every boreholes in X, Y, Z. Okay, then you close and then you open again your software. Yeah, and we have this. Okay, let me delete the previous one. Right click, add, then you import the Excel file, press OK. Okay, then you wait for a while, you press OK, then you have all the soil layer. So for instance, yeah, if you want to cut, what you usually do is that you are going to use solid, choose the solid, select surface, then you cut the geometry. Okay, now I would like to tell you the problems. Okay, why in certain cases I don't do this method anymore. Yeah, and why I will introduce to you later new feature called divide mesh. Yeah, okay, so let us take a look at the geometry after we cut. Now if you remember, we only have one solid. Then what happens? Yeah, why now we have 8 is because sometimes the way we cut the solid surface introduce a very small geometry like this. Yeah, so if I turn on that one, okay, we have a very thin layer, very small, insignificant, but we have a problem because when we will do the meshing, yeah, this might cause a very distorted element, and it is not useful in the analysis, but sometimes make meshing difficult. Yeah, so let's say I use a very big mesh around this area, then the mesh of this small size area will be hard to get. Yeah, so we try to avoid this method sometimes, yeah, when the thing is complicated. And since we have a number of soil layers, yeah, then it's gonna get harder and harder to mesh. Okay. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. I have introduced to you the bedding plan features, yeah, which is useful to create the so-called soil layer. Oops, sorry. Then after the bedding plan, I want to introduce you to the new feature which is called divide mesh. Yeah, so divide mesh means that I don't cut the geometry, but I split the mesh set. Yeah, so why do I split the mesh set is so that I can easily apply a parameters to that mesh set. Yeah, so rather than I try to divide the geometry and apply properties to the geometry, I make the mesh first, then cut the mesh, which of course has its own weakness, and I would like to introduce to you the problem. Yeah, so this is an example. Yeah, okay. Let me restart. Yeah, so let's say all this mesh has only one parameters. Yeah, let's say it only has one parameters, and we have a problem. How do we assign different soil layer into one mesh set? Okay, previous version cannot do this. This is only applicable in the new version. Yeah, if I use divide geometry like the previous one, I have a very small mesh problems, which is non-existent in here because I use a very big geometry, then make the mesh first. So in a way, meshing is easier, but then it does not split according to the soil layer. Then how do I cut such problem like this? Yeah. Okay. So for instance, I turn on the soil layer, the seal, then, or sorry, maybe I just use gravel, yeah, because it's bigger, because this one takes time. So I will just show you how do I do this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide mesh. Okay, I will select the entire mesh set, I select the soil layer, and then I press OK, then wait for a while. Yeah. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do is that I will make this one mesh set into two, then I will apply the different properties, yeah, according to the soil layer. And of course, if you ask me how long does it take to cut this mesh, it depends on the size and the number of mesh you are going to cut. So the more mesh you have, the more time you need. Okay. Okay, wait for a while. Yeah. Okay, now it's done. Yeah, so I will turn off. The color is still the same, but we now have split, yeah, the two mesh here. And as you can see, this is still one soil layer. Okay, so let's say I want to apply different soil layer to this one. So this one I just want to call it fill. Then I just press OK. Then I have two different soil layer. Yeah. Now what is the problem with this method is that if let me try to turn off one, then as you can see, because it just split the mesh, it doesn't change the mesh shape. Yeah, it just try to cut or to split the mesh into two according to the soil layer. So if your mesh is very big, then you will have these things. Yeah. On the other hand, if your mesh is small, yeah, you will get a more smoother shape. Okay, now, but the good things about this method is that you don't have problems with the meshing, yeah, because you mesh first then you cut. Okay, the other method is you cut the geometry first then you mesh, which give you a very perfect mesh if it is successful, but sometimes it simply doesn't work. So you have to choose. Yeah, you have to choose what is the most suitable methods at a time. Yeah, no single method is the best for every condition, so you have to think carefully. Of course, for me, yeah, whenever possible, I always cut the geometry, and only when it is no longer possible to cut the geometry, I will cut the mesh. Okay. Okay, this is the new features that is introduced. Of course, this is only one application. Yeah, there are so many. What is it? Yeah. Benefit that you can get from divide mesh. You can divide mesh to apply different pile properties. For instance, yeah, certain piles you want to make it bigger, some piles you want to make it smaller. You cut first the the mesh, and then you assign the properties. Okay, now let me go back to my slide. Yeah, so this is the second model. Yeah, the second model is much simpler. I just want everything horizontal, no cut and fill process, which is basically talking about the typical settlement analysis. Yeah, I have column, I have pile cap, I have pile, then I just apply the column into my pile and then see what is the settlement. In order to ensure that the effect of the what is it, yeah, in order to ensure that I only show you the effect of cut and fill, yeah, the soil layer, everything is the same. Yeah, I make it non-horizontal. Okay, only the surface is horizontal, no cut and fill process. Okay, so let me introduce to you very quickly how does it differs. When we do excavation, yeah, we basically release the stress on the soil. Yeah, since we release the stress on the soil, when we apply the column load, it must compensate the stress that has been released by the soil first. Okay, so as you can see here, yeah, even in fact some area is still positive, means the soil is heaving. Yeah, the load applied is less than the stress that has been released when we do the excavation. This is the correct phenomenon. Yeah, because basically what happened is that when you release the stress, sometimes there will be heave, yeah, rather than settlement. Okay, now on the other hand, if you do fill, yeah, even though the soil below is slightly over consolidated, it might go into normally consolidated. Then as a result, any additional stress applied on the soil will actually cause bigger settlement. Okay, and this cannot be considered if we don't model the cut and fill process or the staging construction. Yeah? If you don't do staging construction, we don't get this kind of response. Now in model B, this is model B, yeah, we don't do cut and fill. So basically if you take a look at all these numbers, everything is negative. Everything is settlement. Yeah, it's because, yeah, all the load that I applied from the column is not compensated by any excavation or fill process. Yeah, so what happened is that if you take a look, yeah, the settlement is very big at the center of your building, which is typical for typical settlement analysis. Yeah, this is just a matter of how big is your column load and the position of your piles. On the other hand, in here, the excavated area, despite of having the same column load, actually experience very little settlement. At the fill area, yeah, it experience bigger settlement. Okay, so this is one of the difference that you have to consider when you conduct numerical analysis. Yeah? When the excavation and filling process is quite significant, it might worth your time, yeah, to do additional work to model all this cut and fill process. Okay, so now I would like to show you the model. Okay, let me show you. Yeah, this is the full scale of the model. Yeah, this color does not represent the material type. Yeah, let me change to material color over here. Material color. Okay, this is the material color. Yeah, so I have number of soil layer over there. Okay, I have number of material, and then this black color indicate my fill. Yeah, my fill. So if you wonder, then what I did, yeah, let me show you the stage construction. So of course this is the initial condition. Yeah, then I go to the next stage. I did excavation. Yeah, so I excavate all this area. Okay, then I also do fill. Yeah, I have fill area here, the black color. Then after that I install my pile and pile cap. Then after that I apply the column load. Yeah, this one I apply the column load. Yeah, so you can see all this is column load. Okay, okay, then the next model, yeah, is basically a very simple one. It just like this. Yeah, so it's basically flat. Then what I did is I have initial stress, similar. Then next step is I install the PAL and PAL cap. Then I apply the load. Load, everything is the same. Then I get a very completely different result. Okay, so especially when it comes to settlement. Let me show you the settlement. Okay, one thing that you need to consider when you have non-horizontal soil layer such as this part, first of all, we are not sure what is the soil parameter over this area, and second of all, this is not part of the construction area, so it doesn't really matter. But the problem is, because it is such a large number, more due to the numerical problems, then we don't need to actually look into these numbers. So what are we gonna do? So what are we gonna do is that we have to turn on only the PAL cap and the slab. Then you have your contour. Okay, you can turn on the contour line if you want. You can take a look from the front. Okay, if you don't want to see the mesh, you can turn off the mesh. And here is your settlement profile. You can change the units if you want. Basically over here the maximum settlement is 3 cm, so everything looks fine from this model. And over here we have a smaller settlement. It doesn't even reach 1 cm because there is a stress release at that area. Now let's take a look at what happened when we don't consider the soil surface. Okay, and this everything is negative. The maximum settlement is about 4 cm, which is bigger. But if it is bigger, it doesn't mean it is more correct. You have to be careful because the profile is completely different. In this model, settlement is concentrated on the field area, this part, where there are some different in the elevation as well, but over here is very small. Then it might be a problem when we consider the difference in the settlement. Because let me show you. It is this part. Like in Indonesia, we have a restriction that the distortion cannot exceed 1/300. So this part will be a problem if you don't properly model it. Over here, yes, the settlement looks bigger, but if you only turn on the PAL and PAL cap, you do cutting diagram. Okay, same technique, but everything looks quite the same. So you won't have the problem with the distortion. So this is why it is important to model the cut and fill process, because if you don't get the correct settlement contour, then you thought that you get a more conservative result, but you forget to consider that your buildings might experience differential settlement. So of course, my suggestion is to always consider as realistically as possible, whenever you think it is significant. Now let us take a look as well about the bending moment of your PAL. When we turn off the PAL cap, let us take a look at the bending moment. This one I go to meter. So you have a very small bending moment over here. Okay, about 74 to 77. In Y and Z direction. Don't forget to show your element coordinate system. This X, Y, and Z is not according to the global but to the local element. And local element usually going down is the X direction, so that's why you don't have you don't have X bending moment at X direction. Okay, then how about this one? You may have a completely different result. Okay, so Let me turn off and turn on my pile. Okay, yeah, change the unit, and as you can see, it could be significantly different. Actually, it's different only at this file, yeah, because this file is located very near to the slope area, so something is going on here lah, yeah. But let's say I don't want to see this part, yeah. I don't want to see this part because I want to take a look at the others, yeah, at the others. Okay, this one I hide, and let's see. Okay, usually those at the edge will be much bigger because it is near the sloping area. Yeah, let me hide again. Okay, I want to take a look at those at the center. Yeah, at the center. But as you hide more and more piles, yeah, as you can see, the bending moment here is getting smaller. Okay, so now let us compare again. Yeah, so it is still bigger. Yeah. So if you look into here, yeah, apparently the soil surface, the non-horizontal soil surface might affect your result as well. Okay, especially when you have at this area, yeah, at this area where it might not stable, yeah, where there is a sliding plane there, then you might have a bigger bending moment and shear force. So you have to be very careful on that. Okay, so let me go back again to my presentation. So now let me conclude, yeah, because I think my time is running out. So to conclude, yeah, the conventional settlement analysis has some limitation. Okay, the biggest limitation is that you cannot, or it is hard to model non-linear soil surface, yeah, non-linear soil layer, and it is difficult to consider the cut and fill process. Yeah, cut and fill process affect our stress state variables in the soil, how the effective stress, yeah, the pre-consolidation pressure, and that cannot be modeled properly in the conventional settlement analysis. Okay. On the other hand, you use numerical model, it allows you to consider a complicated staging construction when there is cut, there is fill, yeah, and how it will affect the settlement of pile groups. So that is the benefit of using numerical models. Yeah? Then, since it is the advantage of using numerical model, let us not stop in just constructing a horizontal soil surface like what we did in the conventional settlement analysis. Yeah, if there is a cut and fill, you need to model it to ensure that the settlement profile will be more realistic. Okay, it is not only a matter of magnitude, but it is a matter of how the settlement is distributed below your construction. Okay, now with TGM, the terrain geometry maker, it is no longer difficult to make the surface geometry. Yeah, of course, if you have a drafter, then you need to ensure that the contour is good enough. Yeah, if the contour is not good, then it's gonna be difficult also to actually use the TGM. Yeah, because you will have unrealistic soil surface. Yeah, so you need to make sure that the contour is clean enough. And then we can use divide mesh as an alternative to cut the soil layer, yeah, to avoid complicated geometry where meshing becomes impossible. Then you may consider divide mesh feature, yeah, in order to ensure that in order to ensure that the meshing can be appropriately conducted. I also have introduced the bedding plane features, but as I mentioned, nowadays I rarely use bedding plane. I use TGM for most of the time, yeah, not only to make the soil surface but also to make the soil layers, yeah, everything that requires spatial interpolation, I just use the TGM. Okay, I think that would be the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. If you have any further question, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay, thank you.